Pressure on state legislators to give into Donald Trump's election lies is the focus of Tuesday's January 6th committee hearings. Now, specifically, folks are keying in on Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, and specifically the call we know that then President Trump made to him, urging him to, quote, find some votes that would make Trump win the state of Georgia. Secretary of State Raffensperger is one of the witnesses appearing before the committee on Tuesday, and the committee is also expected to address Donald Trump's alleged involvement in creating bogus slates of electors to overturn the 2020 election. Thankfully, that's a scheme that failed. So let's get into all of this with our political panel here, okay? Elena Beverly is the former National Deputy Director of African American Outreach for President Obama and the host of the Our Mayors podcast. Hugo Lowell is a congressional reporter for The Guardian, and Shermichael Singleton is a contributor to the Boston Globe and a host of a show right here on MSNBC's Peacock, Screen Share. Okay, folks, let's get into this because these hearings are being led, of course, by the January 6th committee, but January 2nd, and the focus obviously is the 6th, but the 2nd is actually probably just as important as January 6th, because that is when Donald Trump placed that infamous call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, and he also recorded it, which is key. Here's what former White House Special Counsel Norm Eisen had to say about the upcoming testimony. Take a listen to this.
And I think we're going to meet Raffensperger, and I think he could well be the John Dean of these TikTok-era Watergate hearings.
Now, it is really important to note that John Dean was Richard Nixon's attorney who turned on him during Watergate, and Nixon ended up resigning. Now, all that being said, Shermichael, would you agree that Raffensperger could be the John Dean of January 6th?
No, not in this political climate, Simone. I mean, I don't think you're going to get any participation from Republicans like you did at that time, which eventually came. You have elections only months away. Republicans are likely going to regain control of the House, and I can guarantee you this will be shut down unless the Justice Department decide to form some type of charges against the former president. I don't think much is going to happen. And if the former president decides to run, as you stated on my show on Screen Share, they may decide not to involve themselves because they may not want to be perceived as being overtly political.
Well, we will all be watching on Tuesday, and I know we're going to continue to talk about it. But right now, I want to switch gears because you really can't look at your phone anymore without seeing a headline or a tweet or a push notification about the economy. And this morning, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen had this to say. I want people to listen up to this.
Clearly, inflation is unacceptably high. It's President Biden's top priority to bring it down. And Chair Powell has said that his goal is to bring inflation down while maintaining a strong labor market. That's going to take skill and luck, but I believe it's possible. I don't think a recession is inevitable.
Now, I want to talk about the politics of this because Secretary Yellen is pretty confidently saying that we are not on the brink of a recession. Now, I'd like to remind folks that before, she and the administration, I worked there, said that inflation was transient. And we do all know how that ended. So, Hugo, is this a risk that the administration is taking here? Or are they bullish because the administration and Secretary Yellen know something that we don't know?
I don't think it's exactly clear at the moment. I think what is clear, though, is that people are thinking about inflation. You know, people are thinking about costs at the gas pump, and so this is clearly an administration priority going into the midterms. I mean, it's difficult to say, right? I mean, how or whether the Treasury Department's actions here are going to impact inflation going into the midterms. Or there's a significant lag normally. There's a several-month delay between the Treasury Department taking steps and the inflation or costs in people's pockets reflecting. So I think there is a lag that we have to account for. But I think the administration can be pretty bullish. I mean, I don't think we're going to get to the point where we're going to get to a recession before the midterms. And I think, you know, this is the key question on the politics of it. Are we going to be in a recession by the time we get into the midterms? It doesn't look that way at the moment. But I think, you know, the Treasury Department has to keep tabs on where the future is.
I think it's a very important point. Separate from an inflation, I mean, you just mentioned it. We're all talking about how high prices are. And I think it's important to note that without lower oil prices, nothing is changing at the store. And when I learned this, I was like, oh, what? And the reason is because petroleum is everywhere. If you really think about it, it's in most manufactured goods, or it was used to make those goods, or it is key to getting those goods to where they need to go. Now, look at these record-breaking profits by oil companies, okay? These are just the first quarter of this year. ExxonMobil, $5.5 billion. You've got Shell, $9.13 billion with a B. Elena, how is this not price gouging?
Well, that's why you have Democrats saying that really this inflation is really corporate America getting over on the American consumer. Look, we're all feeling the burn of the consumer price increases. We're all feeling it at the pump. We are all feeling it when it comes to groceries. Simone, you and I are both from Middle America. You're from Omaha. I'm from Michigan. We know that voters in Middle America and all across this country, frankly, are going to be voting with their pocketbook when it comes to the midterms. And so what you're hearing right now is the administration actually trying to say that they understand what is affecting voters. They understand what's affecting the everyday consumer, and that Biden is doing his best to try to lower inflation. You're going to start to see the administration carry this message over and over again that we understand the pain, and he's going to start, he's going to Saudi Arabia to try to loosen up that petroleum, to try to make sure that gas prices come down. So this is going to be, the economy is going to be the messaging going forward from now until the midterms.
It's what people are feeling. I would note the president has a role to play here, but so does Congress. And there's one political party that's not playing ball because it doesn't benefit them politically. Elena Beverly, Hugo Lowell, and Sir Michael Singleton, thank y'all very much for having this economic conversation.